Hello viewers and subscriber. Welcome once again the continuation of the previous screencast. The previous screencast I discussed about how can you deploy the professionally DevOps practices, and I mean how can you continuous integration and continuous deployment with the proper data migrations, version-based data migration tools like Flyway and Liquibase. And also I already discussed about the different deployment process, like how can you deploy the application REST services applications with the standalone JAR file-based deployments, and also how can you deploy the application with Docker and Docker Compose-based deployment, and also how can you deploy the application with the Docker and Kubernetes deployment. Those I already discussed. Those are you are new, just look for the previous screencast, and then you can get the clear idea what how can you start that, how can you generate the projects, and how can you implement the implement the projects, and how can you properly structure the projects and modules and so on and so forth. That's you can also handle like that way. And so today what I did, the last screencast, what we did is like standalone JAR-based application deployments, and then these deployments based on the possibility with the Flyway, one of the data migration tools, and also the alternative possibility to Liquibase based data migration tools. And this is the one of the idea I try to share with you with you as like professional, really professional examples. And that's the reason I said it's for the beginners. It is really hard to understand, but if you follow the complete screencast, then I believe you can get really clear pictures. And that means we in the previous example, the screencast, I already discussed how can you start the application, how can you deploy the applications with the standalone JAR file based deployment with external configuration. All things is discussed, and then the both possibility Flyway based database migrations or Liquibase database migration tool. That's what we already discussed here. If you saw this picture, the projects, like here, this is the projects. Today I try to discuss with you how can you deploy the applications with the Docker and Docker Compose base. And previously with the same application, we have a standalone JAR file, and we deploy the JAR applications with the we externally configure the JAR applications and deploy these in this application into the Windows machine or Linux machine, doesn't matter, but it was the standalone JAR based. Today what I got the same application, and I take the same source code and take the same developments, and those development I need to be go to the Docker and Docker Compose based deployments. So that means we are today in the deployments in the Docker and Docker based deployment. We build applications, we generate the image, the Docker image, and out of this Docker image we will run the Docker Compose files with the Postgres SQL backend server. That I will show you together what I mean, how it is works. So it's a Liquibase projects. You see that this project exactly the same Liquibase projects, and then it has different combinations. And then this is the screencast I will do it after the complete process of Docker Compose base is done clearly and clearly understandable. And then I will do next screencast to how can you do the same application to deploy the application into the Kubernetes into the Docker and Kubernetes deployment process. That's already done here. It is properly program it is properly scripted it, and properly write down the configurations is there. We will discuss together how can you handle it, this one. And also we already integrate the Swagger UI or Swagger UI 2, and also the Swagger Open API 3. This is the screencast. I will show you, I will discuss you how can you have the possibility, how can you start, how can you continuous integration, continuous deployment in the professional way. Just follow the channels, and then I believe you can get really clear understanding. I believe it. So So what we need to be in the presentation, let's go with the presentation part. So we already did this, the deployment. So today we'll do the deployment with the Docker based deployments with the Flyway. And the next one we will do the Docker and Kubernetes based deployment with Liquibase, or we can, whatever it is, if Flyway is possible and the Liquibase. Because why I did it like that way, because Flyway, you get the same migration script. That's we have it in the project structure. That's if I show you in the migration scripts, as you see, the same migration script, we'll put it into the Liquibase script. So just simply copy paste, just only simply change the dv change log files, just on directory name change, and everything is changed. That's why, because that's why I said this, we will take all the possibility. You can deploy, we can take the Flyway based database migration systems or tools, or we can also take the Liquibase based like migration systems, depending how what the your company requirements, which tools you are familiar, and which tool they are needed. That's why the reason why I try to take the same copies. How can you very quickly just simply change the directory names and deploy your database migration script into the Flyway and Liquibase systems. This is just very simple. Only change the directory path. That if you see, there's nothing more changed here. If I go there, just only simply change db change log files, and there is the integration file, all the versions that you have, 1 2 3 4 5 versions, and you see that is the version definition sequence, and then all the sequence creations, add tables, and then add additional sequence creations, then everything perfect. That's the reason that I said I take really same applications, all the possibility. How can you deploy the application with the standalone jar based deployment? How can you deploy the applications with the Docker Compose base, and also how can you deploy the same application with the Docker and Kubernetes based deployment? That's the main idea, to share with you and do the professional works, not the hello world application. It is really professional way to handle those applications. So go back to presentation. So that means we will go today is the Docker Compose based deployment. How can you configure, how can you deploy, and how can you so on and so forth, and to check the test cases into the Postman, and also that you can check the same test with the Swagger UI tools. You can also test that. That's I already show you. So let's go back to the present back to the source code part, what we need to do. So that's what I already discussed about all the let's close everything, then start one by one. So those are here new in the developments, where I already discussed about how the development process, the structures. So you see the structure like we have some really professional structure, like it has a models. As you see, the user registration models is properly annotated and all professional way. How can you handle it, the migration way, and this have a repository structure. You see the repository packet, the professional way, and also there is a definition of the service interface definitions, and then you have some service implementations there. So everything is already implemented, and I already discussed about how implementation part. I don't like to discuss again here. Just follow the previous channel. I believe you can get really clear idea how it's worked, how it is be done properly and professionally. But in the end of the day, when the implementation is done, I will put it my source code into our GitHub. So this is you see the models, and you see the repository, you see the service and service implementation, some utility package classes for the sequence generation. That's I already discussed about how can you create the sequences. Yes, I mean, and finally we have the REST controller, the controller definition, the control definition, and this is the controller definition for basic CUDA operations, and also how can you integrate the Swagger UI or Open API 3, or Swagger 3 or Open API 3. Very straightforward annotations. It's a professional design. You can have all the possibility